Hi, Grandma. I hope you're doing well today. This session, I'm going to kind of talk to you about obesity and how the obesity epidemic has really kind of skyrocketed over the past, we'll say, 1, 2, 3 decades, maybe past 10 to 30 years. So, kind of what has changed in that amount of time? One of the biggest things that has actually changed is agricultural subsidies. So, when we start subsidizing different crops like corn and wheat, we're more likely to have those foods as part of a larger part of our diet. So from 95 to 2010, actually 29% of all food subsidies went to corn in the United States. You can think of the leading up to like high fructose corn syrup that's in all of our foods these days. It's used as sweeteners because we have so much corn because we're subsidizing it. Consumption of corn products in that same amount of time since 1973 has gone up 4,000%. So we're eating a lot more corn in our diets than we ever were before. And a close second to corn in the amount of subsidies as terms of food that we eat is actually wheat. We're eating a lot more wheat products than we ate before. Another cause kind of leading up to the obesity epidemic is cheap labor. So labor is actually the most expensive part of food manufacturing. Almost about 40% of the food manufacturing process is the cost is there. So cheap labor actually then leads to cheaper food, and then cheaper food leads to bigger portions. If it's cheaper to buy, you're more likely to eat more of it at that point. And at the same time, good food costs has risen. So for poor people, it's that they're kind of stuck eating the same kind of foods that aren't as healthy for them. So it's easier for them to go through a drive-through McDonald's, for example, and get several things off the value menu that'll fill them up versus going out and getting like fruits and vegetables, which is a lot better for them, less calorically dense, but giving them the same nutrition or better nutrition they would actually need. And another kind of cause that most people don't think about is the amount of snacking that we're doing these days. In the past 30 years, we've gone from eating 3.8 snacks a day to almost 4.9 snacks per day, which is actually a 38% increase in snacking. So we're snacking a whole lot more than we ever used to. And the caloric content of our snacks has gone up. In 1970, the average male snack would be around 261 calories, and in 1996, it was skyrocketed to already 501 calories on average for a snack. And now that almost 25% of our daily amount of snacks has started coming from 25% of our daily calories have actually started coming from snacks. And I've kind of outlined a few of these causes leading up to the obesity epidemic, but actually our professors actually outlined over 15 different causes that have led to the obesity epidemic here that we're seeing these days. Some people go into talking about does genetics play a role in obesity? And it actually does. Some interesting studies have found out that individuals with higher metabolic rates actually are able to consume higher fat diets, and those individuals won't end up becoming obese, largely because their metabolic rate is higher, and metabolic rate is highly linked to genetics or the genetic predisposition there. Individuals who are susceptible to weight gain actually have an impaired ability to increase fat oxidation. So they can't break down the fat once they've put it in their body, or they can't start releasing the fat to then burn it if it's actually become part of their tissues at that point. And fat oxidation is also largely genetically controlled. And in 2007, they've actually found a gene that's like really closely related to fat and obesity. It's the fat mass and obesity associated gene, or FTO for short. And in 13 studies, over 38,000 people, they found that this gene was consistently associated with people who were obese. And actually, the FTO gene is associated with fat intake and impaired satiety responsiveness in children. So these children just want to eat more and more and more, which is going to lead them to ultimately becoming more obese. So the odds of obesity, think of it, an interesting facts here. If one of your parents are obese, you have a 3-to-1 ratio actually that you will be likely to be obese as well. And if both of your parents are obese, it's a 10-to-1 ratio that you will be obese. So the odds are against you when it comes to the genetic side of things. And one of the last things I wanted to talk about to you this time, Grandma, was talking to you about body type and risk for cardiovascular disease. So people kind of say, oh, all my fat's in my hips or all my fat's around my waist. That actually plays into cardiovascular diseases and actually diabetes as well. So I'm going to show you this kind of figure that I have right here really quick. So over here on the right, in the red, the man and the woman both have more abdominal fat, and we call that like the apple shape. And people who are apple shaped, carrying more weight around their waist, are actually more likely to have cardiovascular diseases like coronary artery disease and those associated diseases, and diabetes. Whereas people who have more of their fat below their waist those people are less likely to have those. We call the apple shape, having it on your waist, being more android shaped, and gynoid shape, or the pear shape, as if it's below your waist actually. So I hope this information is kind of giving you a little more background on obesity, Grandma. I hope you have a good rest of the day.